give me what I deserve. Luke 15. This deal about the prodigal son. Give me what I deserve. I'm going to call it that. And we're going to start with this prodigal son. I gave you a little backdrop about this son saying, give me exactly, Daddy, what I deserve. Now, I told you about George Mallory. He was a famous mountain climber who went to reach the top of Mount Everest. I told you about him. I told you one of the things that about George Mallory, he was trying to get to the top of one of the things they would interview him. They would ask him, George, look, why do you want to get to the top of this mountain ever so bad? George would come back and reply, one, he said, because it's there. But then they also recorded the fact that George said, I wanted to get there because I deserve to be the first man to make it to the top. That's what George said. He said, I deserve to be the first man to make it to the top. Well, you know, they later found George Mallory's body. They found it dead on the side of that mountain. He did not reach the top. But 75 years later, they found his body on the side of that mountain trying to get to the top. George Mallory felt he deserved to be at the top of that mountain. We get to this text and we find a young man that's sitting here telling his daddy, I deserve to have what's belonged to me. Daddy, I deserve to get everything that I need to have. Daddy, I want what's due me. The son comes back first. I'm going to say he comes back with this request to leave home. I'm going to talk to you about what he does here. The son comes out and he was telling his daddy, he says, look, I'm trying, Daddy. I've been out here working in the field, been doing what you want me to do, but it's time for me to live my life, do my thing. I got to go and experience the world. Oh, it sounds familiar, don't it? It sounds like something we've said or done in our lives. He was talking about something he needed. He was saying, Daddy, I need you to give me my portion of the share. I need what I'm supposed to have. Daddy, I need everything I'm supposed to get. See, the problem with when you need something is you don't typically know what you need. See, if you don't understand what it is you need, then you're going to be craving and wanting the wrong things. And unless you know exactly what you need in life, then what you will do is you will request the wrong thing. This is why James says we need to be careful when we ask God for what we need, because we may ask amiss. We need to understand what it is we need, and whatever we ask for, we make sure we understand this is what we need. But if you don't know what you need, then you may end up asking for the wrong thing. So here it is, this man, he comes and he asks, he says, Daddy, here's what I need. But that really wasn't what he needed, but that's what he thought he needed. And so the daddy, of course, trying to reach and trying to comply with the young man, he was saying, okay, I'll tell you what. Says you're impatient, you can't wait, you reach your limit. You're saying, I'm tired, I'm waiting. You're taking too long, Daddy. You're moving too slow, Daddy. I need to get what's mine. I want instant gratification. And a lot of people want that. They want to be instantly gratified. Why do you think we play the lottery? Because we play the lottery because we want to win. We want instant, hey, we feel it's going to move us from one position to the next. So we play the lottery thinking, hey, if I win, hey, I'm in. I'm the next big thing around here. And you say, that's why we play the lottery, because we want instant gratification. And so we get impatient. We don't want to do it the long way. It takes too long. You mean I got to go to work every day? Well, I don't want to work every day. $1 gives me a ticket. Hey, I can end all of this, and my life will change. That's what we want. And so this young man, along that same way, he was saying, I'm impatient. I want instant gratification. I want you to give me what's mine. I got a certain need. I may not even know what it is, but I got a need and a craving, and I want it filled. And so, Daddy, the only way it can be done is if you give me what's due, because I'm ready to move on with my life. You're moving way too slow for me. This is what happened with road rage. This is why you people get mad when you're driving down the street. Why do you think y'all get mad? They ain't turning the right way. Look at them. They slowed down. They shouldn't be in this lane. And you start talking to them behind your steering wheel like they can hear you. Like they can hear you. You be making gestures with your hand. I know what they are, you know. I know you make those hand gestures. You know, and y'all, everybody's not waving. Everybody's not waving about things they want to say to them because they mad, you know. Y'all talk about people. That's all that is. You're impatient. I can't wait for you to turn left. What are you doing? Why are you in this lane? You need to get over in the other lane. We don't like that. And so here's this young man, he's doing the same thing. Daddy, you're taking too long. I got a need. You're moving too slow. I need it filled. I want instant gratification. Daddy says, okay, son, all right, I got you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the state. The fact is, you're the younger of the two. And because you're the younger of the two, you know how it works, son. You're an Israelite. You know how we divide the estates. The estates go twice as much goes to your older brother.
That's right.
So I'm going to divide it in 3.
Right.
I'm going to give your older brother 2, and I'm going to give you your 1/3 of the estate. He was like, okay, I'll take it. I'm ready. Let me move on, Daddy. I'm ready to take it. In the text, it says it divided the states. And then he says at that point in verse 13, he says that many days later, the son gathered all of his stuff together. And then he did what? He began to go on a journey. And that was his mistake right there. Right there. If you look on the text, you can circle it right there, pin it, put it in highlight. His mistake was right there, is that he went on a journey. Now, the reason I'm going to say the journey was a mistake because he had an identity crisis. He got lost in understanding who he was. He got to understand that he wanted a need filled, but he didn't understand who he was. See, the fact is, Daddy was trying to tell him, look, when I divide this estate, you get 1/3, your brother's going to get 2/3. What that means is you're an Israelite. You belong to the people of God. That means you're a chosen people, a chosen race, son. Did you not know that? Oh, well, let me tell you else, son. Let me tell you something else about your identity, son, is that when you're with God, God says that he would bless you. That's what he tells you. He says you're chosen. If you're not part of the Israelite community, if you understand your identity, number 2, God says he was going to give you the power, the blessings of God. But number 3, God says if you stay in that land. Oh, there it is. It's flying right there. He says, son, you see, what you got to understand is that you will get a blessing from God because you're part of the chosen race. But the Bible says, if you stay in that land. Wait, there's more to it. He said, there's one other thing, son, I got to tell you. Before you take off on your journey, you got to understand who you are. See, if you stay in the land, God's going to bless you because you're part of the chosen race. But, he says, son, one other thing, you got to obey the rule of God. Oh, those are the 4 criteria. And if you don't understand your identity, he takes off on the journey. Daddy, it don't matter to me. I think I can get my blessings outside of the realm of God. See, right then, he made a choice. I'm going to leave the realm of God in order to be able to find my blessing. But the blessings that God has you are under the umbrella of God. See, as long as you stay within the circle of God, you'll be blessed by God. You follow the commands of God, you're going to be blessed by God. You stay in the land of God, you're going to be blessed by God. But this young man says, no, you give me what I think I need, and then I'm going to take off on the journey, and I'm leaving the country because God's not doing enough for me. This young man has made a conscious decision. I'm going to leave the country and go somewhere else. And I was going, man, you must not know who you are. You must not know where your blessings come from. You must not realize what God has done in your life. So then this man goes and says, I'm going to take off on a journey, all because you don't understand who you are. See, because you don't understand your identity, you don't know what your need is. And when you understand your identity and who you are, that you're a chosen race, blessed by God, if you stay in the land, obeying the realm of the commands of God, he said, if you do those things, son, God will bless you. He could say, look at your daddy. Look at what your daddy has done. And when you take a look, you see how God has blessed me. I followed the command. I stayed in the land. I'm an Israelite. I understand. And this is what I'm doing. But you're choosing to go. So you're choosing to leave the umbrella and the auspice of God. And then when he leaves, he says, all of a sudden the verse says, now when he had spent everything he had, the famine came on. There was a shortage. He says, when the shortage occurred, it occurred where? In that country. The text says the shortage occurred there. It didn't occur where the blessings were. It occurred where you went. He took off into another country, and in that country, he says the shortage came about. And in that country, he said they became impoverished. He said in that country, that's when all of a sudden he said, now I got a new need. See, when you became impoverished, that meant that, hey, all of a sudden I'm needing help. And see, when we find ourselves, there are times when we end up doing things we don't want to do with people we don't even like. Because we find ourselves in a place where we're saying, I think now I'm at the end of my rope. There's no other way. When we find ourselves in that spot, then all of a sudden we begin to do things that we may not normally do. I know I've been there a couple of times when I found myself in the spot and I was going, man, I don't know about this. See, you might end up marrying the wrong person, all because you think there's no other way. You find yourself needing some way, you're needing help, and then all of a sudden you find yourself doing things, making relationships and friendships that you wouldn't normally do. And here he is, he's in a foreign country, away from God, away from the blessings of God, who lost all of this, everything that he had, and all of a sudden he's now finding himself, I need some help. And he says, I need some help. I'm finding the first person I can connect with. It says in verse 16, he finds the first person that he can connect with of the land. He says, hey, you're going to help me out the best way you can? That person says, yeah, I got something for you. Why don't you go out there and feed the swine? They said, I got something for you. You at your lowest point. And let me tell you, that's when people take disadvantage of you. They will take advantage of you, not disadvantage. They take advantage of you. When you reach your lowest point, when you feel like there's no other way out, all of a sudden people then want to take advantage. They can sense it. They can sense you desperate. They can sense you wanting it. You know you sitting there wanting the car, they're going to raise the interest rate. You're going, I'll take it. I'll take it. They raise the down payment. I'll take it. I'll take it. You know, you ain't got other, you're going, I don't have another option. And when you feel that way, see, people then begin to take advantage of you. They begin to do things, and then you make choices, and all of a sudden start doing things that you consider, and you say, I should have never done that. I mean, I know I bought my first car like that. I was in the dealership. I take anything you drive up here. You can drive. I can drive whatever you want up here. I'll take it. And you can put 25% in. I don't care. That man said you was approved. I said, man, bring the car. Bring the car. I've been to 7 dealerships, and this one, I don't care what you got. That's the way it is. I mean, you'll take anything. And there he was. He was sitting there impoverished, needing help, and he's ready to take just whatever you bring up. I'll take it. And they said, well, okay, we got something for you. You go on out there and you feed the swine. He said, oh, man. Now all of a sudden he remembers his identity. He's going, I know I shouldn't be doing this. Well, how you going to know? Unless you then recall what you're supposed to be. See, how do you know you're not supposed to be in here with the swine? Because he began, oh, wait a minute. I'm an Israelite. I'm a chosen race. Oh, now you believe you're supposed to have the blessing of God. You wait till you're in the bed with the belly of the pig, and now you're going, I believe I'm supposed to have the blessing of God. Then you turn and you're ready to say, I'm supposed to be blessed. Then all of a sudden you say, I'm the head and not the tail. You should have thought about that before you end up way over here with the pig. So he is there with the swine, and then he's not finding out, I'm in the wrong land, I'm in the wrong country, I shouldn't be here. Well, you didn't think all of that before you took the money. That's right. You took the money and ran. And went with what you thought you needed. Another land, another place. And then he says he's reached now to his lowest possible point. And so what happens when you reach your lowest point? I'm going to tell you this. You need to take hold of your responsibility. You got to take hold. You got to take an inventory of yourself and say, how did I get it? And then you got to take a look around and say, you got to get rid of some dead weight. You got to get rid of some dead weight. Everybody ain't in your corner. Everybody's not on your side. Every relationship is not for you. Every person you connect with, they may not be for you. They may not be someone who connects to you. See, they may not be your identity. You can't go around connecting yourself with people who are not like you. That's right. Can't do it. If they have no belief in God, you need to, hey, we got to cut cords here, baby. I'm sorry. It don't work because we're not on the same level. We're not going the same direction. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to cut you off. Because they're going to want you to end up being swine people just like them. And they'll end up telling you, it's all right. It's all right to waddle in the mud. It's all right to be here with the pig. You got to be careful on who you connect with. Not everybody is for you and with you and in your corner. See, then when you realize that, then you say, then you got to say, all right, I know I'm low. I know I'm at the lowest point, but don't count yourself out.
All right.
And you might say, well, it looks like I'm not going to make it out of this. It looks like the mud is too high up to my knees. Every step I take, but you know what? Don't count yourself out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say at this point, this is where you need to get your vision. When you find yourself in the mud with people you don't need to be around and associated with in a land in which you're far away from the blessings and which you've been reared and brought up, right here, you can get your vision. That's the best place to get your vision. Don't you know that when people are their poorest, they come up with the best ideas? Don't you know that? They wake up, all of a sudden they have vision. That's when you get your vision. Right here is when you can grab your vision and find out and say, God, what is it you want me to do? How do you want me to live my life? I've been squandering everything that you've given me. I find myself up to my knees in mud. I'm around people I don't even know in a foreign country, in a foreign land. I need to get rid of them because they want me to be swine people. And I know there's something better for me. Right there, get your vision. Get your vision as what it is you believe God wants to do and pour into your life. Grab the vision for your life and then begin to execute it at that point. And I know it looks like you're not going to get out. I know it looks tough. I know it looks like you're saying there's no end to it. But grab God's vision for your life and begin to dig your way out. And come on out of this mud. Let me tell you why. Because seasons change. That's one thing I love. I love the fact that we go from winter to summer to fall. We have different seasons. You know why? Because when a season changes, that means something new is on the horizon. And that's the way it is in your life. Your life is seasons. And there may be a season in which you're down, but then guess what? There's going to be a season in which you're up. Seasons change, and when they change, it means one thing's over and another thing is beginning ready to start. So you got to take a look at your life and say, okay, guess what? I might be here, but this is just for a season until the time the snow has melted. And guess what? I'm coming out. This is how this gentleman said, okay, right here, take a look at your life. Even though your request was to leave home. But look, he's not done. This gentleman, he says, now he's going to have a return to come home. In verse number 17, he says, but when he came, all of a sudden, right there, he began to repent. And now this repent when you move from one direction to another. You decide, you make a decision, you have a change of mind. All of a sudden the mind begins to change, and then you begin to change our mind and our needs change. And see, when your needs change, all of a sudden your direction changes. He had one need at the very beginning when he made this request from home. And he had a certain direction he wanted to go. All of that's gone now. You're in the mud. All of a sudden, the need is different. He found himself needing help. He reached out. Now he's going, I need something else. My needs change. And what happens when you go through seasons of your life, you're going to find out your needs change. The things you did when you were a little boy or girl, you don't do now as a grown woman. You don't do certain things at 10 that you did at 20, and 20 you do at 30. They change. Why? Because life changed, seasons change, you evolve. You don't do certain things that you learn to come into a relationship with God. There are certain things you don't do. You just stop doing because your needs change. All of a sudden you want a closer relationship with God, you drop some things off. And you begin to then have a different relationship with God because your needs change. So then all of a sudden this man, he's sitting there and he's saying, you know what? I began to think about what my daddy has. I began to think about all that could be given unto me. And then I decide all of a sudden I'm ready to return to home. Now, returning home is different between a believer and a non-believer. See, when you call yourself to repent, it's different between a believer and a non-believer. See, a believer, he can only be lured, he or she can only be lured away for a moment. So when a believer repents, it's simply confessing all that he's done and just simply return home. That's all it is. But a non-believer, they would have to repent, yes, the same thing, but they would also have to do a confession. See, because they would have to accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. So a non-believer has to do a repentance and a confession. But if you're a believer and you already know Christ and have a relationship like this man did, because we knew he was an Israelite, part of the chosen race, already receiving the blessing of God if he stayed in the land and he would obey the command. We already knew that. So all he had to do then at this point is repent. In other words, change your mind and come to your senses and quit doing crazy stuff. That's basically it. He was doing crazy stuff. He said when you come to your senses, it meant making a return to thinking or behaving that was normal. I mean, that's what it meant. The text says it meant changing your mind to a return of thinking that is normal. In other words, you were thinking abnormal. Something was wrong. You were thinking, they would say, crazy. So then you were doing things that were abnormal in society, and a believer would look at it and say, well, why are you doing this? This makes no sense. Because it's abnormal. Because they understand your identity and where you need to be in life. And so when they say that, you're saying, you're talking crazy. See, the one who's doing it saying, you don't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to them because they're abnormal. And you're speaking from the perspective of God. So you're saying, listen, don't you understand you need the blessings of God? You're saying, listen, stay in the realm of God, stay in the land of God. You're saying, listen, obey the commands of God. That's normal because you're supposed to have a relationship with God. But they're thinking abnormal. They're going, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know why this person is bad for me. Well, they back, well, listen. They taking you over here with the son. And you're going, because you're abnormal. That's what's wrong. So they're sitting there going, I don't understand. They can't register. They can't follow it. It makes no sense because they just go, that's what they do. And you're trying to teach and show them what is normal or what it is they're supposed to be because their life has identity, their life has meaning, and you see the value that their life has. And they themselves cannot see it. So here he sits. And then he says, all right, well, I'm sitting here. He says, I'm ready to go home. What he does is he acknowledges sin before God. And see, all of us have to do that. You got to realize your sin is not your own. We think that our sin is our own. Hey, it's my sin. Don't worry about it. It's my deal. Don't worry about it. But your sin is not your own. It affects a lot of people. Your sin can pour out into the lives of a lot of people.
That's right.
And it can touch a lot of people.
That's right.
See, a man who's supposed to lead his home, if he's a sinful man leading that home, that sin pours out to his family, his wife, his children, and it'll touch them. And he'll think, no, it's just mine. No, it ain't. No, it ain't.
That's right.
It ain't. It works the same way for the wife, and it works the same way when you're in a relationship with people.
That's right.
Because your sin will end up breaking up certain relationships. It will cause certain things to fall. It'll pour over in your job. Your sin will do that. And we think our sin is just our own. You come to find out why all these people getting dismissed from their job. That woman got taken off her show on CNN. What was it? Whatever show, Fox. Megan. See, what I'm saying is, if it pours out, it can touch others. It can affect you. I'm sure they didn't want to pay her all that money. I'm sure they didn't want to do all that. It can affect other things around. So he comes and he acknowledges his sin before God, and we all should do that each and every day. We should acknowledge before God our sins, our committed sin of omission and commission. Some I know about, some I don't know about. But I do every day. And so we stand before God. And then he says right here, humility hits him. See, humility occurs when we ground our work in human behavior instead of things. See, as long as we ground our work in things, you're not going to be humble. Because when things build you up, they create to you and put you in the place to where you find yourself being private. But humility comes when we ground ourselves in human behavior. Because then we're grounding ourselves in people. That's when humility begins to take place. All of a sudden, this guy had no more things. No more things. He couldn't walk around in the land, I got this, I got that. It's all gone.
That's right.
And when that happens, guess what? You look for people. That humility comes in. All of a sudden, humility begins to take place and take shape and take hold. And see, he was deciding, all he wanted to do was, I just want to run away from home. That's it. That's all he wanted to do. But see, running away from home is not the answer. It's not the answer. I know, because as a little boy, I ran away from home. I did it one time. One time. I took out the back door, told Mama, I'm leaving. I'm gone. Mama said, bye. She gonna tell me about what's wrong with her. She's gonna come after me. Mama got tired of me and said, bye. I took off like I'm going somewhere. I don't know how long I was gone. It could have been 30 minutes, maybe 45. It couldn't have been long. All I know is I got hungry out there. I left at the wrong time. I left at dinner time. I should have waited till I got fed and then sold up. I could have been gone all night then, but I left at the wrong time. I wasn't smart. I left right before dinner, and dinner was getting ready to be served. Mama saying bye. I left, told her I'm leaving. I'm walking away. I went out in the woods, and you got to catch a rabbit by yourself. It gets tough. It gets tough. So you going, oh, no, I came home. It didn't take long. After that, I never ran away again. I want you to know that I never left home again. I understood at that point, Mama got a good thing going on in here. Boy, it's good. It's good up in here. So I didn't run home no more. But see, this guy here ran home, ready to come home now. It was on his way. He said, I got to return home. Now look at the third thing. It's the restoration at home. Now here's the daddy, verse 20. So he got up and he came to his father. And he says, there it is. Daddy's out there waiting. Daddy's out there always looking for him. Daddy's out there waiting with his arms stretched out. See, Daddy's not impatient. Daddy's not looking for instant gratification. Daddy said, I'm going to let it take its course. Daddy's sitting there saying, okay, when you decide to come home, here I am. Daddy is God in the picture. See, Daddy then sits and he sees what's going on. His dad knows, he understands, he says, I know what my son's going to do. I know what he's going to take off and do. I know everything he's getting ready to try. You know, my son tried to tell me things. He was, hey, you don't know about this and that. Hey, look here. Look here, Doc. Look here, Doc. I know the game. See, you know what I'm saying? Son, look here. What you getting ready to do, I already done it, done flipped it around, turned it back, and came back. So, what you getting ready to do, you think you slick and all that? Listen, you ain't slick. You know, they might just change the game a little bit, but it's still the same. It's still the same. The goal is to get to the end of the chessboard. It's still the same goal. You know? So, you know, you can flip it around, say different things you want, but it's still the same. And see, what happens is God sees us. He sees us no matter where we're at on our journey. God knows exactly where you are. See, and it says God sees you, God has compassion, and God loves you. See, we would think that God doesn't love us because we're dirty, we're unclean. No. God loves you just the way you are. And see, you don't have to go and clean yourself up before you come to God. You don't have to do any of that. You just simply come to God just as you are. And that's all you got to do is be able to just, hey, come back to God. Too many times we want to think that we've got to go and clean ourselves up. You don't have to do that. Because if you have to go and clean yourself up, there's nothing for God to do. No. You got it all taken care of. Well, then you can just walk into the very presence of God. No. Come just as you are. Come with all the swine, dirt on you, mud all wrapped around you. This is when God does his best work. God begins to restore at this point and bring you back to where you need to be. He began to restore your thinking back to a normal sense of thinking. He began to restore you. You're supposed to be in the kingdom of God. He says, you are my child. I'm bringing you back to be my child. And as my child, I give you so many blessings. And God began to pour the blessings of his children back upon them. This is what God does. This is how God behaves. God restores those who are sinners and he brings them back to him. This is what God does.
Yes, he do. Yes, he
God does the cleaning, and you quit trying to do it yourself.
I know you're right.
God restores and he reconciles us back to him. A big restoration and reconciliation. Joseph said, you're going to be right next to me, second in command.
Yeah.
That's the way God is. God's ready to wrap his arms around you, reconcile to you, restore you. I don't care what you've done, and bring you right back to where you need to be. That's the way God is. The problem came with the older brother. The older brother comes in. He said, I reject the homecoming. The older brother comes in. I don't see why you got to have this homecoming. Daddy, I don't understand it. Daddy, why would you do this thing for this boy?
Right.
See, Daddy, I worked. He squandered.
Yeah.
See, Daddy, I was here. He left. See, Daddy, I followed your commands. I was doing everything you told me to do. He took off. He disobeyed, Daddy. Daddy, I'm righteous.
Yeah. Come on.
He's sinful.
Come on now.
That's what it is, Daddy. Daddy, I'm resentful.
Watch out.
Daddy, he's repentful. There's a difference.
Different.
The text was meant to show the Pharisees what we see in verse 2.
Right.
He says, they grumble and complain because they would not receive sinners and eat with them. The older brother comes, he grumbles and complains.
Yeah.
Why? Because the younger was a sinner.
Yeah.
And his daddy was getting ready to receive him and eat with him.
Yeah.
The older brother says, I don't see why you would do that with one who's been a sinner and why you would sit and eat with him. The Pharisees started out, why would you, Christ, go around and be with the sinners? Why would you bring them back in? Why would you eat with them? That was their complaint. The parable ends with their complaint. I'm going to tell you about this man who didn't want his brother to come back. Your problem, Pharisees, was that your heart wasn't right. That was your problem. And the way he starts it in verse 2 is the way he ends it in this parable. To tell them, this man, this brother, grumbled and complained because the sinner returned home.
Yeah.
You didn't like it. And guess what, Pharisees? You don't like it when I accept sinners. You know why you don't like it? Because you're concerned about your money. You rejoice when you get your money. You're concerned about your sheep. You rejoice when you get your sheep.
All right.
But when it's a human being, Pharisees, who needs the relationship with God, who needs their sins forgiven, you don't like that. But you like your sheep.
Yeah.
You like your money.
Yeah, come on.
But you don't like people.
Oh.
He said, go back, Pharisees. Clean your heart. And if you clean your heart, then all of a sudden things will change. In 1898, there was this doctor. They said he went crazy. You know why he went crazy? Because he was telling all the other doctors, hey, you need to wash your hands. He says, when you get through doing an autopsy, you need to go and wash your hands.
Yeah.
In 1898, what they were doing is that the doctors would go and they would first start their day off by doing autopsies of dead bodies. And they would do those autopsies and they would leave, and then they would go to the women and who was getting ready to give childbirth, and they would be touching the babies. They were performing surgeries. And from that, people were dying because of what these doctors were doing. This one doctor found, and he said, the problem is you don't wash your hands. He said, if you wash your hands, people would stay alive. He said, that's all you got to do. Just wash your hands. They said he's crazy. He don't know what he's talking about. He's abnormal. At 47 years old, he dies. 47. He dies, and he dies in a mental institution because they said he was crazy because he wanted everybody, just wash your hands. And people would live. Just wash your hands. So they put him in a mental institution where he died. Later, years later, They found out what he said was true. He said that's all you had to do was wash your hands. And if you wash your hands, people would live. You know, if we did what? If we washed our hearts. If we would just wash our hearts. If our hearts would be cleansed and washed. He said, then you would be able to accept those sinners into the kingdom of God. If we would just wash our hearts. So that's all I'm going to tell you today. He said, give me what I deserve. And I said, I'm so grateful. We have a God that gives us so much more than what we deserve. If you believe it, say amen.
Amen.